So, hi everyone. This for us is a really important episode because we've now been on the road for 6 months. We're really conscious that we left in March, so we've had this fantastic summer, which I think makes travelling so much easier, and we're about to obviously go into autumn and winter, so things may be different. But what we thought we'd do for this episode is ask a question. Question one is, what's your favourite site and why? And then really just what have we learned in the last 6 months of being on the road, that if anyone watching this was planning to do this themselves, or even planning just a long trip, the kinds of things you need to think about. So, question one. Sue. She doesn't like doing this. It's on. Question one. Sue, what's your favourite site and why?
It was Glenmore, which is not far from Aviemore and just down from the Cairngorm mountain. The reason I liked it so much was there were some great walks through the woods and some great running routes for me, but also there's a really nice beach that the dogs could go in swimming, and in fact Kath could have gone in swimming if she had had a wetsuit, but I wouldn't recommend it during the summer because my brother's told me that it gets very busy up there. But there's loads of kayaking, windsurfing, so yeah, plenty to do.
So, my favourite site, my favourite place in the world is the Lake District, and as a child I grew up visiting the Lake District a lot, so I'm kind of biased. But my favourite site was one called, was it called Craighurst? I think it was Craighurst, but it was at Low Stott. It was a camping and caravan club CL site. It was set back from a really quiet road. There was the bobbin mill, pretty much just outside the edge of the site.
Not that we knew what a bobbin mill was.
We didn't really know what a bobbin mill was, but we did visit, and we did tell you a little bit about it at the time. But for me, it was my favourite. Apart from being my favourite place in the world, there was a really, really beautiful woodland walk up to a little tarn called High Dam. And once again, we did that before I'd done the open water swimming course and before I got my wetsuit, although I could have probably got away without a wetsuit. So, and because it was a woodland walk, there were no sheep, and it was great to be able to let the dogs off the lead. They ran crazy. They had a swim in the little tarn at the top, and I really enjoyed walking with nature in the morning. So that was my favourite site. So we're going to have to argue about which one we go back to. we don't agree on lots. We're quite different people. So, as I said earlier, we thought it'd be really, really useful to share the things that we've learned after 6 months on the road, because although we've had a motorhome for nearly 7 years now, it's actually quite different living in a motorhome as opposed to popping away for a long weekend or even our 2-week summer holidays. So, we'll start with Sue. Some couple of things that you think will be useful to people watching this.
Yeah, well, one of our dogs, Fudge, was on dog food that you could only order from Dorset to be delivered to our home address. So obviously we've then had to start winning her off that and putting onto dog food that we can quite easily pick up from Pets at Home, which is where we can pick up Archie's as well. So we're nearly there. We've just got a few more weeks, and then that'll be it. We won't need to order any more from Dorset.
And Archie's in that position, isn't he? Because he's got a prescription diet, which is because he's got pancreatitis. He's on prescription food, but we can order it to be delivered to Pets at Home. So, what about people? What about your medication?
Yeah, well, also, I mean, Archie's on quite a lot of medication as well for his arthritis.
Yeah.
And a couple of them are human drugs, one of them being a controlled drug. So the vets, I've arranged with the vets that they give me a prescription, which I'll then take into a pharmacy and collect his drugs. However, there has been a few issues with that, as some of them have never had a veterinary prescription before, and also they have to log us on to the system as being people that are going to come in and pick up the medication. But all in all, they've all been very helpful, and we've managed to work our way through it. And with my medication, I went to the GP before I left. They agreed to increase my prescription to 3 months supply, and then I could just phone up the surgery, give them the postcode as to where we are, and they would send it to the nearest pharmacy. So far it's all been good, but probably Archie's medication has been the one that's been the most difficult.
Yeah, and it does make us think, certainly, it's, you know, Sue's medication is something that she'll be on for life, and you need the odd blood test every now and again, but it does make you think about if you had any, you know, medical conditions that need regular treatment.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
On the road would make that quite difficult, wouldn't it? So we haven't solved that particular problem, but we haven't come across that problem yet, so that's fine. One of the things that we've found particularly difficult this year, more than any previous year when motorhoming, is the supply of calogas, and
it's been short supply.
Yeah, we haven't been able to get it easily, and often we turn up and they're out of stock. So it's one of my little things, isn't it?
You've got a fetish. If we run out of one, although we've got 2 bottles, we run out of one, then we're on the hunt to find another one, even though we probably don't need to do it as quickly as Kath wants us to do it.
I have to be on a mission straight away. You've seen in a few episodes, I think, shopping and parking, and our motorhome's quite big, so parking, we always have to think ahead and plan ahead about where we're going to shop. Usually a big supermarket with a big car park, not always, but usually. And even if we wanted to drive out in the van somewhere, we have to really think about where we're going to park. Well, we've got a washing line that we're looking at in front of us. That's something we have to...
Yeah, every so often we need to factor in a campsite that's got laundry facilities, because we've limited the amount of clothes that we have brought with us, just because of the storage. So, and because I run,
you're a bit sweaty.
Yeah, so I need to wash them quite a lot. But yeah, so we've been to a laundrette today in Leamington, and because it's a nice day today, I've decided to hang it out on our washing line rather than sticking it in the tumble dryer. Save a bit of money.
Saves a bit of money, saves a bit of electricity, so we can be a bit green. Yeah, and I've got visions of you sometimes with that big checkered laundry bag, walking down the street to find a laundrette, so we've done that a few times. What else? I'm looking at my notes, because as you know, we're both menopausal women, our memory's not great. Road map. So some of the places that we've been to have been a bit hairy on the roads, and like everybody else, you know, we use our phones as our sat-nav, and you can't put anywhere in the sat-nav that you're a 7.5 metre long motorhome. So we've invested in a road map that's got width and height restrictions on the map, which means that depending on where we're going, like when we were in Wales, when we were in the Lake District, we double check our route on the map. It didn't always work. It didn't work when we went to Nether Wadsdale, but we found that it's kind of helpful for us to just check whether we're going to be able to get along our route. I must mention OS Maps because, and Sue can tell you a little bit, she does most of the planning on where we're going to go, but OS Maps really comes into its own. Do you want to just explain how we do it?
Yeah, because we look at sites where we can quite easily walk the dogs. There's some good running routes where we are, and especially with my running, having OS Maps, because I like running off-road, it shows you all the footpaths, which makes it a lot easier for me to pick a route, especially if I'm taking Fudge with me, because I can have a look to see whether there's any open fields where there might be sheep.
That's right. You don't always see the sheep on OS Maps, but we found it really helpful for picking one site over another, because we like to factor the dogs in, so they're having a good time as well. So you have got to mention that one.
Yeah, from one of the other episodes that you've probably seen is I ended up being stung on my tongue by a wasp. So I would recommend, if you're anywhere where there's lots of wasps, put a cover over your glass of wine or anything that you're going to drink.
Or check it before you drink it. Either way, you don't want to do what Sue did on that occasion. And I think you should mention that as well, because you found that, and it's been essential not just for what its purpose is. Go on.
We purchased a Mod Daddy, which is a dog wash, which is like a petrol can, and it's got a plunger and a hose and a brush at the end of it. So when we bring the dogs back and they're all muddy, we can clean them off if the campsite we're on hasn't got a particular dog wash, and it has been invaluable.
And we've used it in particular, you know, this summer has been warm, as everyone will know. So we've used it actually just to hose the dogs down and keep them cool. So it's been used a lot this summer. So really, just to finish this bit, one of the questions that we've been asked quite a lot by friends and family and people that we've met as we've travelled is, when does our UK tour finish? And our answer is, well, we don't have an end date. We've both said we'll just keep going until we get bored. And I think the more we've travelled, the more we've found there's such beautiful places in the UK. So we really don't have any end date. But I'm just going to check in. Are you bored yet?
No, I'm definitely not bored yet.
It's great fun. It's a brilliant lifestyle. If you're thinking of it, just do it.